everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taco Matta Tuesday, the show where we eat healthy, delicious tacos and have conversations about life. Often, people will talk about how they feel stuck in a situation, but you're never actually stuck. You may be a little frustrated, you may not have the clear answers, but you're not stuck. The minute you represent the situation to yourself as being stuck, that's exactly how you will feel. We must be very careful about the metaphors we allow ourselves to choose. A statement from the absolute great Tony Robbins, and he could not be more on point. Today, we're going to talk about just that. Feeling disappointed, frustrated, feeling like we're just not getting the outcomes that we want, that we're on this plateau, and that we're ultimately just stuck. And I want to give you some gentle reminders to help you change the perspective on the season that you're navigating to therefore get you out of that feeling of being stuck and get you moving forward in a very realistic and healthy way. But before I do that, let's go ahead and talk about the taco of the week. Went to Boulder, and when I go to Boulder, Colorado, I always have to stop by one of my favorite food places, which is Bar Taco. And if you've never been to Bar Taco, either the Denver location or the Boulder location, I'm sorry, you haven't lived. Now, these tacos are not normal in the sense of Mexican traditional cuisine. These are like Asian, Korean infused type of flavor tacos. So for me, they're fun and they're different and you can't get them anywhere else. And so when I rolled up this weekend, I tried something that was new to their menu. And it was their pistachio cauliflower tacos. I was like, for some reason, pistachio ice cream was really good when I did not think that it would be. And I really like cauliflower. And so I'm like, I gotta imagine there's a reason why this is on the menu. It's probably pretty good. So I ordered one. Nonetheless, it was freaking fantastic. If you go, don't forget to put the lime on it, and because that's important. But all of that to say, that is your taco recipe for this week. As I went ahead and I whipped up a recipe that I think obviously won't come exactly on point to the beautiful masterpiece that they make in the restaurant themselves, but something that is still healthy and delicious nonetheless. So be sure to check out the show notes if you would like to snag that recipe card. Alrighty, let's get on with it, shall we? This weekend was such an awesome weekend. My heart was so full, also so tired, because it was another race weekend where I got to go and cheer on three, four, almost five of my athletes that I do online training for DECA. And as a coach, it's just one of the coolest things, right? You take these people week by week through some pretty grueling workouts. You talk to them through their results, through different mindset things. And when you finally start to see them put it all together, some of them, it was their very first race. Some of them, they're kind of veterans and looking to qualify for world championships. When you just see them put it together and go after it and fight for themselves as a coach, it is just such an awesome feeling. And I got to do that this weekend on top of race with one of my athletes, which, by the way, it was very cool. If you'd like to see the highlight reel of this, we came within 7 seconds of the world record for the female strong teams, which is pretty darn good, especially because it was only Olivia's third race ever within DECA and her very first strong teams race. So it was just so much fun. But I bring up that story in particular because it truly inspired me, this specific moment that happened this weekend, to talk about just gentle reminders for when you feel stuck. I've been working with an athlete now for 3 to 4 months. She's done DECA now for probably a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer than that. And just came to me this year and said, look, I have big goals. I really want to qualify for world championships. And we knew that it was going to be a stretch. She struggled to get underneath 20 minutes within her time. And her age group is requiring her to get to 16 minutes, right? And so in order for her to do that, she was going to have to shave off like 6 to 7 minutes worth of time in order to get an invite to World Championships later this year. And so we had our work cut out for us to try and do that within the 3 to 5 month span. It was going to take some massive focus. She got hurt from a skiing accident, got a little bit of an MCL sprain. We had to nurse that a little bit. So that didn't necessarily set us back. We just couldn't train with the intensity that we were hoping to during that period. So she's just overcome so many ups and downs, and now twice has been able to hit the sub 20 mark after being stuck at over 20 minutes for at least 3 to 4 races. Actually, since forever. She's never been underneath sub 20. So it's been a really cool journey with her. And so this weekend, just with the amount of time we have left, which I believe is about 7-ish weeks until the last weekend to qualify or to put up a qualifying time is. And so we know, based off of the fact that there's only so many events left in Colorado, that this race was going to be pretty important. And as an athlete, when you come into this and you know that this is important and your performance really matters here, it can add some pressure that maybe isn't 100% necessary, but can really take you south if you don't manage it correctly. And so she started her race, was looking really solid through zone 1 and zone 2. And at this particular venue, they have the 24-inch boxes that are just really wide. They're stable, but they're wide. They're really wonky. They're not normally the size that you would see either at a World Championships or just at most gyms. And so you have to adapt to that. And box step overs, especially for people in their the 40 plus age group, it can be really difficult. So all of that to say, she ended up unfortunately taking a tumble on the box step overs, like her 3rd or 4th rep. And I remember specifically last June or July when I went after trying to qualify for elite, and I went really hot and heavy on the row, and I fell off the box. And the box is one of my strongest stations. My mindset just went to the complete shitter. And it's really hard to mentally recover, especially again when you have a big goal and you feel like there's a lot on the line. And so in that moment, I took a look at her face and I was like, shit, we gotta do some mental reset here, because I could see in her eyes that kind of shook her up, especially when you take an unexpected fall. So all of that to say, she still got a sub 20 time. She was about 30 to 45 seconds past what her last time was, maybe a little bit more than that. But overall, I remember just like going to meet her on the floor after her last burpee, and she was definitely upset. She was taking a moment for herself to just let out her emotions, which was, crying, which is fine. And I just held her hand, and I told her that this race is going to be the thing that propels her. I said, this race could have been the biggest gift that the universe could have ever given you versus giving you the time that you actually wanted today. And I know in that moment, hearing those words maybe didn't make much sense and maybe didn't make her feel better. And my goal wasn't necessarily to make her feel better, but to give her some realistic truth. The moment that I fell off the box last year was the moment that I was able to start digging deep, going internal, and learning more about not only the race, but about myself. What's important to me to do in this race, why I'm actually doing this, right? It takes you to places when you go to that length, right, where you feel like you absolutely are stuck, you absolutely failed. It gives you the beautiful gift of going internal and asking yourself better questions to therefore get better answers. And those answers can absolutely change your life. And so for those of you that can relate to what Trish went through this weekend, whether it's feeling disappointed, frustrated, stuck in a plateau, the first thing that I want to tell you is that the race that you need is not always the race that you necessarily want. So what it is that you might want is probably not what it is that you need. And in that moment, I think even though Trish really wanted a specific outcome, she got something that she needed even more than that. Because this particular thing is what she needed to go through in order to build her character, to build her mindset, to build her physically and emotionally into the athlete that she is more than capable of being. This moment might be telling her to let go of the outcome more, to not clutch the bat or grip it so tightly, to really go deep and think about, why is it so important for you to get a qualifying time? Why is it so important for you to go to Worlds? So just remember that what it is that you're going through right now, it's probably not what you want, but it's exactly what it is that you need. So what is the reason? Can you sit there and look yourself in the eyes and say, what is the reason for this circumstance happening? It is your job to go out and seek it. And if you choose not to, if you choose to not learn the lesson, I promise it's going to continue to show up time and time again. So take the power that you have right now to seek out the reason and make it, therefore, the reason as to why you're going to win after the fact. Okay. The next thing that I want to say is if you feel like you're stuck or in some sort of plateau, is that success is not measured in numbers, but rather by doing things you never thought were possible. And this is something that took me a while to really wrap my head around, and still some days I'm trying to wrap my head around. I actually made a post about it this morning because last night I happened to come across a video of me back in the day, like right after I lost all of the weight. I just lost 75 pounds. I was super stoked on movement and just loved having so much energy. And I was starting to create fitness videos. Like I think I was a few weeks out from like officially leaving my corporate job. And so I was just super stoked on being like a health and wellness business owner and a trainer. So stoked. Anyways, I was like doing some concentration curls. It was like a fitness video that I created and posted on YouTube. And I was just sitting there and I was like watching myself curl, and I just took a look at my body type, specifically my arms, because I was doing bicep curls. And I was like, whoa, I was pretty rail thin back then. And I just like look at my body now and I'm just like, I'm beefy. I've got some arms, I've got some shoulders, I've got some lats and some traps. My legs are nuts. Like I didn't have any of that back then. And yet there have been so many times where I've looked at myself in the mirror and I'm thinking, shit, I'm going backwards. Where I did that dumb thing once upon a time ago and I stepped on the scale and I realized that I was 15 to 17 pounds heavier than I was when I lost all the weight, thinking, crap, I'm for sure going backwards. That when I had to buy a size up in a sports bra or in a pair of shorts that I used to be able to wear, but now those clothes are way too tight, so I had to go up, crap, I'm going backwards, right? And when you have that PTSD of constantly going backwards in your health, especially when you're a health and wellness coach, and when you were at an unhealthy time in your life, that time was rough. I don't wish that upon anyone. There was a lot of really toxic, mentally tough things that I had to overcome between the different things that I was going through, that I almost associate being heavier with those times, and I don't ever want to find myself in that black hole again. And so I've been there, and I know what it feels like to measure yourself by the size of your clothes, by what you look like in the mirror, by what number is on the scale. And this could also apply to anything in the job world, right? In your career, when we talk about promotions and the numbers when it comes to that, the finances that you make. I mean, plenty of things, right? I remember when I used to think that success was measured in numbers. But the moment that I started to wrap my mind around the fact that, whoa, my body has allowed for me to do things that I never would have been capable of doing back then. Even after I lost the 75 pounds, there is just no way that I could do what it is that I do now. And I have no restriction in saying yes to anything that I want to do, physically, mentally, emotionally, because I have built myself into this freaking powerhouse. And trust me, I'm not stopping, right? And so I've had to change my mindset on the fact that, my body is going to morph into whatever it needs to in order for me to live the life that I want to live, to do the things that I want to do. And so I use that health example because, again, I think that applies to so many things, that maybe you're not stuck. Maybe you're just sitting in an old version or an old definition of success that's just no longer serving you, that doesn't actually represent what it is that's important to you. Or maybe it just represents everything else that's outside of you, all of the externals and what people think that happiness and success and joy truly is. But deep down that that is not what creates your happiness and your joy and your success. So can you step outside of the numbers? Can you step outside of the scale? And can you think about what moments that you want to create in your life? What moments do you want to live through? What do you want to say that you were capable of doing? Because I'll tell you what, I don't remember the numbers that I made on my paycheck when I worked the corporate world. Yeah, I can remember how much I maybe made from year to year, but you know what I do actually remember? The moments of impact that I've made in people's lives since I started to get outside of the numbers. The amount of people that I have impacted has been insane. And I can think of so many moments that bring me to my knees with so much joy and so much gratitude and just happy tears. Those are the moments worth living for. Those are the things worth living for. Those are what a successful, fulfilling life are made up of. Not how much money you make or the number that is on the scale. Those do not define you in the slightest. So choose to step away from that. And this actually perfectly, I should say, leads into the next thing that I want to share is to choose to make an impact above all other things. This weekend, again, while I was up in Boulder, we were walking from Bar Taco to sneak by Gelato Boy, because that's another wonderful thing that's up in Boulder. And there was this guy that like started like banging on the suitcase and was like, "Here ye." I actually don't remember what he was saying, but Dave and I were like, do we stop? We like slowly walked past him, and then we slowly stopped and just started to listen. And he was getting ready to do a comedy show. And so Dave and I looked at each other and I was like, all right, let's see what this guy is all about. It's a Sunday afternoon. We've got nowhere to be besides, we want to do a couple of things together for strategizing and business planning. But like outside of that, let's just enjoy our Sunday in this moment right here. And so this guy goes about and just does this really freaking funny, somewhat raunchy and inappropriate comedy show. And it was really easy to just get sucked into the moment. And he ends up taking off his hat, and I should say, preface this, he was an Irish comedian, like a leprechaun comedian, I should say. And he takes off his hat as almost like a, what's the word that I'm looking for? Almost as like a representation of him changing forms of like who it is that he wants to speak as. So then he goes back into his normal self. His normal self was named Connor. And Connor says, I just want to stop right here before I end the show and just thank each and every one of you for giving me your time. He goes, if there's anything that I've learned in life, it's that time is the most precious resource that you have, and you chose on your Sunday afternoon to stop here for the last 10 minutes and just give me part of your life. And I will never forget that. And I instantly got goosebumps in that moment. And of course, I was super sucked in at this point because he was speaking real truth. But then he starts to talk a little bit about his story, and he says, this is what I do. This is my life, is I choose to travel the world and one comedy show at a time make the world a happier place. He goes, that's just what I want to do with my life. It's not about making the money for me, although if you would like to tip me for the work that I've done here today, I'd greatly appreciate it. But just even being able to follow me on social media and follow my journey, that would mean the world to me. And then he popped his hat back on and went about the show. But I just sat there and I was like, we need more people like that. We need more people that choose impact above all other things, because when you give that sort of impact back to the world, what you get in return is astounding. And impact, I can tell you, it will make you feel so full. Like it will overflow your freaking cup. Let me tell you that. You will get what you give, and giving impact will not only come back for you in so many ways, but will overflow your cup in ways that most things cannot. So if you are feeling stuck right now, disappointed or frustrated, when is the last time that you gave, that you chose impact, that you went out there and did something that truly made you feel purposeful? And if you can't answer that question fairly quickly, then maybe that's where it is that you need to go next, is stop living this life that's not doing anything for you, that's not serving you, by spending all the time serving all the other people that don't make you happy, right? How are you going to serve yourself and therefore serve the people that you want to serve, that complete your purpose, that make you you? That is what we need more of. Not this whole, let's go out there, climb the corporate ladder, get all the promotions, make all the money, have the picket white fence with the house, yada, yada, yada. No. If you really want to feel successful and you really want to feel stuck, choose impact above all other things. And I will promise you, you will walk through your life so differently than if you were to walk the other path. The last thing that I want to share with you guys, as far as a gentle reminder when it comes to feeling stuck, is just the fact that a laugh can change the world. Yesterday, the laughs that I shared with Dave from this Irish comedian, it changed my world. And he gets to do that and travel all across the world and change so many people's life just with a single 10-minute comedy show. When you are in the weeds, remember how something as simple as a laugh or a smile can change your entire day, and for a matter of fact, someone else's day. This is a time to not let temporary seasons create fleeting emotions that will therefore dictate how you choose to live your life. Rather, I encourage you to acknowledge the season that you're in and how it's showing up for you. And instead, just choose to see life from a different lens. Where I want to leave you is this. When you are feeling stuck and you're feeling confused, I promise you, please do not worry. Because what it actually means is that you are on the edge of creating something wonderful. So hang on for the ride. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today. I truly hope that this episode impacted you, and if it did, please be sure to get this into the hands and ears of friends and family that need to hear this message. And if you haven't already, be sure to rate and review the podcast. But until next time, you guys, don't forget to laugh, don't forget to smile, don't forget to choose impact over everything else. See you guys next week.